This C1 Media screencast is going to focus on globalisation and the media. And as you can see from this contents page, this is part of our final topic within the sociology of the mass media. So this key term, globalisation, is an idea that we've already come across in our work on youth culture. Remember, globalisation is a concept that sociologists use to describe the growing interconnectedness of individuals, nations and regions of the world. And the mass media have played a vital role in this growing interconnectedness because of developments in communication networks like the internet, email and satellite television. So globalisation has been driven by these mass media communication technologies. For example, satellite television has opened up the world to the television viewer. So for example, if you have the Sky platform at home, you will have access to a whole range of news channels from around the world, including news from Hong Kong, from America, from China, India and Russia, to name just a few. And access to the World Wide Web via the internet also means that we can access information and entertainment from all parts of the world. And sometimes this leads to the spread of global memes. So a meme is an idea, behaviour or style that spreads virally. And examples of memes that have spread virally via the global media include the Coney 2012 video. And just to illustrate the viral nature of this particular meme, on the YouTube platform alone, this video has had close to 100 million views. Another example of a meme that spread globally was the Occupy Wall Street movement at the autumn of 2011. So this was a protest movement that started out in New York City, but by the end of November 2011, this particular movement had spread to at least 2,700 protests in different parts of the world. And as a media user, you may well have access to this global media instantaneously through the smartphone that you probably have in your pocket. So that smartphone, that device, enables you to send and receive calls from around the world, as well as giving you instant access to email, the World Wide Web, and a range of entertainment and information from around the globe. And in media sociology, we use the term technological convergence when multiple technologies can be accessed from one media device, such as a smartphone, a laptop or tablet computer. Furthermore, as we've seen in previous screencasts, ownership of the mass media is no longer restricted by national boundaries. So global media conglomerates such as Disney, Time Warner, News Corporation own hundreds of media companies spread around the world. And advertising occurs on a global scale, and particular brands and logos have become globalized as a result. And as a result of these changes, some sociologists have argued that the global media have created a global village. And this idea of a global village was an idea first propagated by the Canadian theorist Marshall McLuhan in 1960. And to McLuhan, the world has shrunk to a village due to advancements in the fields of science and technology. So instant electronic communication has obliterated traditional notions of time and space. So few parts of the world now are unaffected by the images and narratives pumped out on a 24/7 basis by the global media. And this means that our knowledge of the world is no longer limited by time and space. So we now routinely peer into the worlds of others whose existence we would have never really known about previously. And for the Spanish sociologist Manuel Castells, this communication revolution has been the defining transformation of our existence, and he calls our contemporary global world the network society. However, we shouldn't exaggerate the globalisation of the media. As Wildman and Seweka pointed out, language can often be a barrier to media imports from other countries. So, for example, Americans will watch programs made in America, Australia, the UK and New Zealand, and even more frequently they will remake popular foreign programs to suit their own culture rather than to watch the originals. Now, this term, cultural globalisation, refers to the transmission of ideas, meanings and values across the world, and obviously the mass media have played a crucial role in the process of cultural globalisation. However, some sociologists are very critical of this process of cultural globalisation that is being promoted by the mass media. So Marxists, for example, would argue that globalisation restricts choice because global media companies and their owners have too much power. So Marxists are particularly concerned that local media and cultures may be replaced by a commercialised global culture, and Counter suggests that this global media culture is about sameness and that it erases individuality and difference. And George Richter uses this term, McDonaldization, to describe this phenomenon of sameness. So the idea here is the mass media is just promoting a very bland, commercialised, homogenised global culture. And it's been suggested by some sociologists that this amounts to a form of cultural imperialism, which is a situation where Western countries and businesses, particularly those based in America, are in a position where they can impose their culture on other countries via the global media. For example, in the past, people were able to create their own cultures. Now, large media companies can take traditional cultures and alter them to create new meanings. The Disney Corporation, for example, rewrites many traditional folk stories and gives them meanings that are very different from what was originally intended. For example, The Little Mermaid is a fairy tale originally written by the Danish author Hans Christian Andersen, and in the original story it ends up with the death of the mermaid because she kills herself rather than kill somebody else. The Disney version, on the other hand, offers a happy ending whereby a girl who disobeys her family will still get married to a prince. And many people may prefer the Disney version, but it loses something important. And fairy tales of the past were often full of macabre and gruesome twists and endings, but these days companies like Disney have sanitized them for a modern audience that is clearly deemed unable to cope, and so we see happy endings everywhere. However, some sociologists are much more optimistic about the impact of the global media. So they see the global media as being beneficial because they believe that it's responsible for spreading different cultural styles around the world. And they believe that this creates new global hybrid styles in fashion, music, consumption and lifestyle. And they believe that different cultures respond to the media, but in different ways. So, for example, global television programs such as Big Brother or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here are sold to TV companies around the world, but the local versions of these programs reflect local cultures. So they're an example of what we called global cultures, which, remember, was a concept that we described in relation to the globalization of youth culture. And the sociologist Anthony Giddens challenges the idea that cultural globalization is simply about America and the West imposing their culture on other countries. So as Giddens notes, local programs from developing countries are also exported to Western countries, and in some cases developing countries produce their own media products that reflect their own cultural origins. So the biggest film industry in the world, for example, is not Hollywood, based in California. It's actually the Bollywood film industry, which is based in India.